Thomas is a tank engine who lives in a big station on the island of Sodor. He's a cheeky little engine with 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, a short stumpy boiler, and a short stumpy dome. He is a fussy little engine too, always pulling coaches, about ready for the big engines to take on long voyages. And when trains come in, he pulls the empty coaches away, so that the big engines can go and rest. Thomas believes no engine works as hard as he does. He loves playing tricks on them, including Gordon, the biggest and proudest of them all. Thomas likes whistling rudely at him. "Wake up, lazy bones! Why don't you work hard like me?" One day after pulling the big express, Gordon had arrived back at the sidings very tired. He was just going to sleep when Thomas came up in his cheeky way. "Wake up, lazy bones! Do some hard work for a change! You can't catch me!" And off Thomas ran laughing. Instead of going to sleep again, Gordon thought how he could get back at Thomas. One morning, Thomas wouldn't wake up. His driver and fireman couldn't make him start. His fire went out, and there was not enough steam. It was nearly time for the express. People were waiting, but the coaches weren't ready. At last, Thomas started. Oh dear, oh dear, he yawned. He fussed into the station where Gordon was waiting. "Hurry up, you," said Gordon. "Hurry yourself," replied Thomas. Gordon began making his plan to get back at Thomas for teasing him. "Yes," said Gordon, "I will." And almost before the coaches had stopped moving, Gordon reversed quickly and was coupled to the train. "Get in quickly, please," he whistled. Thomas usually pushed behind the big trains to help them start, but he was always uncoupled first. This time, Gordon started so quickly that they forgot to uncouple Thomas, and thus, Gordon's chance had come. "Come on, puffed Gordon to the coaches. The train went faster and faster, too fast for Thomas. He wanted to stop, but he couldn't. "Beep, beep, 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 stop, stop, stop!" "Hurry, hurry, hurry," laughed Gordon. You can't get away, laughed the coaches. Poor Thomas was going faster than he had ever gone before. He was out of breath and his wheels hurt him, but he had to go on towards the end of the set, visible in the distance. "I shall never be the same again," he thought sadly. "My wheels will be quite worn out." At last, they stopped at a station. Thomas was uncoupled and teleported somewhere. He felt very silly and exhausted. Next, he went onto a turntable, thinking of everybody laughing at him. And then he ran onto a siding out of the way. "Well, little Thomas," chuckled Gordon, "now you know what hard work is like, don't you?" Poor Thomas couldn't answer. He had no breath whatsoever. He just puffed slowly away to rest and had a long-ass drink. He went home very slowly and was careful afterwards never to be an idiot to Gordon again. And this was just the start to many of his dastardly deeds. More and more people travel to the Fat Director's Railway. More and more ships come from the harbors, and everyone had to work very hard indeed. "No one can say," grumbled Henry, "that we're afraid of hard work, but we draw the line on a goods train," finished Gordon. "Dirty trucks, dirty sidings, God! Silence!" ordered a well-known voice. "Let me tell you, an engine from goods work will arrive from Scotland tomorrow." The news was received with acclamation. The next morning there was some confusing news, and the Fat Director stared. "Did you say 2 engines, Inspector?" "Yes, sir." "Then send the other back at once." "Certainly, sir, but which one?" "The 2 engines are exactly alike, sir, and have no numbers. They say they lost them on the way." The Fat Director seized his hat. "Well, we'll soon settle that nonsense," he said grimly. The 2 engines greeted him cheerfully. "Hello there. I hear you lost your numbers. How the hell did that happen?" They must simply slipped off, sir. You know how it is," the engine spoke in chorus. "What are your names, then?" he asked. "Doll and Dougie, sir." "Good. Then your controller can tell me which one of you is which." "Och, he don't know our names, sir. We only gave ourselves names when we lost our numbers." "One of you," said the Fat Director, "is playing truant. I shall find him out and send him home. Inspector," he ordered, "give these engines numbers and set them to work." Soon, workmen came to give the twins their numbers. Donald was 9 and Douglas was 10. "You may have noticed, Dougie, that the painters forgot something." What did they forget?" "They painted brand new numbers on our tenders, but they put none on us." Donald smiled broadly at the twin. "You mean," grinned Douglas, "that we get—" "Yes, just that," chuckled Donald. "On your wish, here's the inspector." "Now, 9 and 10, smiled the inspector. "Here is Duck. He's gonna show you around before you start work." They went off happily together, and before long, Duck had shown them what they had to do with trucks and coaches. Every day, punctually at 3:30, Gordon steams in with the express. It is full of people from England, Wales, and Scotland. There happens to be a special coach for passengers traveling to places on Thomas's branch line, where Thomas, Annie, and Carmel comes hurrying from the junction to collect. Thomas is very proud of his special coach. One afternoon, Douglas helped Duck in the yard while Donald waited to take a goods train to the other end of the line. As Duck was busy arranging Donald's trucks, Douglas offered to take away Gordon's coaches. Douglas was enjoying himself when an awful thought struck him. "I hope the Fat Director don't find out I shouldn't be here. I couldn't buy going back." He was worried so much over this that he forgot about Thomas's special coach. And soon Thomas came fussing. "Where the hell is my coach?" "Coach?" asked Donald. "What coach?" "My special coach that Gordon brings for me. It's gone. I must find it." He bustled away. "Lost shakes," said Douglas. "I must have stolen the special coach with the others." A mob of angry passengers erupted from their siding. "Now listen," said Douglas' driver. "We'll change tenders. Then away with you, Donald, and take the goods. Didn't the fash us. Quick now, do as I say." While Donald and Douglas changed tenders, the Fat Director was surrounded by angry passengers stranded in the coach. They all looked across Douglas and his driver waiting his expressions. Number 9, why have you not taken the goods?" Me tender's a loss, sir." "I see. Some defect, no doubt. Why did number 10 leave so quickly?" Maybe sorry coming and thought it was late." Here, gentlemen, are the facts. Number 10 has been shutting in the yard, and your coach disappeared. We investigate. Number 10 disappeared, too. You can draw your conclusions. Please accept my apologies. No matter will be investigated. And have a good afternoon, gentlemen." The Fat Director watched Thomas bring a special coach to the station, and then he swung round suddenly. "Douglas," he snapped, "why are you masquerading with Donald's tender?" Douglas had always the greatest respect for the Fat Director ever since, and promised to never play tricks again. The Fat Director had scolded Donald and Douglas severely for playing tricks on him and the passengers. "I shall be watching you both," he said. "I have to decide which of you is to stay." He strode away. The twins looked glummed. Neither wanted to stay without the other. "Then what is to do?" wondered Douglas. "Oh," said Donald, "we must be as good as new, so let them keep us both." Their plan was good, but they reckoned without a certain obstacle. There was a brakeman in the yard that had taken a dislike to Dougie. His name was Dominic, and things always went wrong when he had to take Dominic out. His trains were late, and he was blamed. Douglas began to worry. Donald, his twin, was angry at Dominic. "You're a muckle nuisance," said Donald. "It's to leave you behind I've been wanting." "You can't," said Dominic. "I am essential." "Oh, are you?" Donald burst out. "You're nothing but a screeching and a noise when all said and done. Spike Dougie, would you? Take that!" "Oh, damn! And there's more coming should you misbehave." And then the van behaved better after that. Until one day, Donald was messing around and did something stupid. The rails were slippery and he couldn't stop in time. The fat director was most annoyed about this ordeal. "What the hell, Donald? I did not expect such clumsiness from you." "Right, I'm gonna send Douglas back and keep you." I'm sorry, sir," said Donald. "I should think so too. You have upset my arrangements. Now James will have to help with the goods work while you have your tender mended. James won't like that." And the fat director was right. James was grumbling dreadfully. He was so mad about this whole ordeal. And he was always complaining about this stuff. "Anyone would think," said Douglas, "that Donald had an accident on purpose. I heard tell about an engine and some tar wagons." "Shut the hell up! It's not funny!" He didn't like to be reminded of his own accident. Well, said Douglas. "Surely, James, it wasn't you. You didn't say?" James didn't say, and he slouched sulkily away. "He is cross," chuckled Dominic. "We'll try to make him crosser still." "Hold back!" giggled the trucks to each other. James did his best, but he was utmost exhausted when they reached the random station just before Gordon's Hill. Douglas was just sitting there. "Help me up the hill, please," panted James. "The trucks are playing tricks." "We'll show them," said Douglas. Slowly but surely, the snorting engines decided to make their way to Gordon's Hill. And now, James was losing steam at this point. I can't do it! I can't do it! Lay it to me!" shouted Douglas. The guard was anxious. "Come on! Steady now! Stick perfect!" Dominic was in pieces, and no one been hurt, and soon Edward came to clear the mess. The fat director was on board, as Dominic was taken away. "I might have known it would be Douglas," he said. Douglas was grand, sir. James did not have enough steam, but Douglas worked hard enough for 3, and I heard him from my yard. "2 would have been enough," said the fat director. "I really want to be fair, Douglas, but I don't know. I really don't know. Damn!" The fat director was making up his mind about something. But I shan't spoil anything like that, or I'll spoil the next story. Snow came early to the island of Sodor. It was far heavier than usual. Most engines hate snow, and Donald and Douglas were quite used to it. Coupled back to back with the van between their tenders and a snowplow on their fronts, they set to work. What they do was just puff backwards and forwards, patrolling the line. On general terms, the snow slipped away easily, but sometimes they found much deeper drifts. Presently they came to a drift which was far larger than most, and then they charged it, and were just backing for another try when... "Little shake, Startle! It's Henry! Didn't fash yourself, Henry! Wait just a minute! We'll have you out!" Henry was very grateful, and then he saw all was not well. The twins were glum, and they told him that the fat director was returning soon. Oh, God, they'll send us back for sure. It's a damn shame, said Percy. A lot of nonsense about a broken signal box, grumbled Gordon. Oh, and Dominic, too. May he burn in hell. That's what I say. They all agreed that something must be done, but none knew what. Percy decided that the best course of action would be to see what Edward has to say about this. What you need, said Edward, is a deputation, and he explained what that was. Percy ran back quickly. Guys, Edward says we need a disposition. Of course! Why didn't I think of that? The question is, what's a desperation? Asked Henry. Is when agents tell the fat director that something is wrong. Did you say the fat director? Asked thoughtfully. There was a long silence. Okay, I've given it a lot of thought, and I propose that Percy should be our disposition. No, I can't! Bullshit. It's easy. That's settled then, said Gordon. Poor Percy wished it wasn't. Hello, Percy. It's nice to be back. Oh, yes, sir. Please, sir. You look nervous, Percy. What's going on? Please, sir. They made me a desperation, sir. Speak to you, sir. I don't like it, sir. What? Did you mean a deputation, Percy? Yes, sir. Please, sir. It's Donald and Douglas, sir. They say if you send them away, sir, they'll be turned to scrap. That'd be dreadful, sir. Please don't send them away and kill them. Thank you, Percy. Okay, that's enough. That'll do. Later, the fat director spoke to the engines. Well, I had a deputation. I understand your feelings, but I do not approve of this interference. He paused impressively. Donald and Douglas, I hear that your work in the snow is good. You two shall have a new coat of paint. The twins were surprised. Thank you, sir. But your names will be painted on you. We shall have no more mistakes at all. Thank you, sir. Does that mean that the both of us... The fat director smiled. Well, it certainly means that... The rest of his speech was drowned in a delighted chorus of cheers and whistles. It was very clear to the matter that Donald and Douglas would be here to stay forevermore. And evermore, and evermore, and evermore, and so on and so forth. Thomas the Tank Engine has worked his branch line for many years. Or was it years? Whatever. He just knows the branch line very well indeed. You know just where to stop, Thomas left his driver. You could almost manage it without me. Thomas had become conceited. He didn't realize his driver was just joking. Later, he boasted to the others. Driver says I don't need him now. Don't be so daft, snorted Percy. I'd never go out my driver, said Toby tersely. I'd be frightened. Don't worry about me. I'm not scared. You don't have the pee-wee. I would then. You'll see. Next morning, the firelighter came. Thomas drowsed comfortably as the warmth spread through his boiler. Percy and Toby were sleeping. Thomas suddenly remembered. Silly stick in the muds. I'll show them. Driver said I can manage without him. I'll just go out, and then I'll stop, and then I'll wish. That'll make him jump. Thomas thought he was being clever, but really, he was just moving because of Carol's cleaner meddled with his controls. He soon found his mistake. He tried to whoosh, but he couldn't. He tried to stop, but he can't. He just kept rolling along. He didn't dare look at what was coming up ahead of him. There was the station master's house, and the station master was about to have cornflakes. God, horrors! Cried Thomas and shut his eyes. The house rocked, and broken glass tinkled. Plastic was everywhere. Thomas had collected a bush on his travels. He peered into the room through its leaves, and he couldn't speak. The station master was furious. His wife picked up her plate. You miserable engine, she scolded. Just look what you've done to our breakfast. Now I shall have to cook some more. She banged the door, and more plaster fell. This time it fell on Thomas. He was depressed. Workmen propped up the house with strong poles and laid rails through the garden. Meanwhile, Donald and Douglas arrived at the scene of the carnage. Dinna fash yourself, Thomas. We'll soon have you back on the rails. They laughed. Donald and Douglas, puffing hard, managed to haul Thomas back to safety. Just bits of fencing, the bush, a broken window frame, and a bunch of angry wife comments four-stoned his front, which was badly twisted. And the twins laughed and just abandoned him. What an idiots! Thomas was in disgrace, though. There was worse to come, though. You are a very naughty engine. I know, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Thomas's voice was muffled behind his bush. You must go to the works and have your front mended. It will be a long job. Yes, sir. Meanwhile, a diesel rail car will do your work. Well, a diesel, sir? Thomas spluttered. Yes, Thomas. Diesels always stay in their sheds till wanted. Diesels never galvanized off to breakfast in station masters' houses. Stupid idiot! Percy and Toby were worried. Thomas's recent accident put the branch line operations in jeopardy, and the Fat Director was waiting for them with important news. Here, he said, is Daisy, the diesel railcar who has come to help while Thomas is indisposed. Please, sir, asked Percy. Will she go, sir, when Thomas comes back, sir? That depends, said the Fat Director. Meanwhile, however long she stays, I hope you will both make her feel welcome and comfortable. Yes, sir. We'll try, sir, said the engines. Good. Well, run along now, and show her the shed, okay? She will want to rest after her long voyage. The two engines found that Daisy was very hard to please, and then she shuddered at the engine shed. This is dreadfully smelly. I'm highly sprung, and anything smelly is bad for my swerves. Fine, I'll just show you something else then. Yeah, here. Next, they had to go at the carriage shed. Well, this is okay, said Daisy. But, whatever is that rubbish over there? Ooh. Well, rubbish turned out to be Annie, Clarvel, and Henrietta, who were most offended. We won't stay here to be insulted, they fumed. Toby and Percy had to take them away and spend half the night soothing their hurt feelings, watching modern Nickelodeon shows, and, cringe at them. The two engines woke next morning feeling exhausted. Daisy, on the other hand, felt bright and cheerful. She tooted. Look at me! I'm the latest diesel, highly sprung and right up to date. You sure as hell don't want no Thomas O'Bunker Carble now. The passengers waited for Daisy to start, but she didn't. She fully realized that a milk van was about to be coupled up to her and was most indignant. What? Excuse me? Do they expect me to pull that? Well, surely you can pull one van. No, hell no, I'm not. Percy can do it. He loves messing around with the goddamn trucks. She began to shudder violently. Come on. No, nonsense. Come on now, back down. Daisy lurched backwards, and she was so cross that she blew a fuse. I told you so, she said and stopped. Everyone argued with her, but it was no use. It's Fitter's orders, she said. What is? My Fitter's a very nice man. He comes every 7 days and examines me very carefully. He always told me, Daisy, never ever pull. You're highly sprung and pulling is bad for your swerves. And so that's how it is, finished Daisy. What? That's bullshit, said the station master. I just can't understand it, said the shunter. Whatever made the fat director send us such a feeble... Feeble? Why, you little... Shut up, grumbled the masters. We're late already. And so they uncoupled the train, and Daisy purred away, feeling very pleased with herself. And she can now enjoy her journey. That is a good story, she chuckled. I just do what work I choose, and no mo. But she said it to herself. Daisy, the diesel railcar's work on the branch line was... something. She was frightened of bulls and cows for some reason, and she remained a jackass. One fine day, Toby brought Henrietta to the station, where Percy was grumbly shunting. Hello there, Percy. I see Daisy left the milk behind again. I have to make a special journey with it, I suppose. Anyone would think I got nothing to do, grumbled Percy. How about this? I'll take the milk, you fetch my trucks. Their drivers and the station master agreed. Whatever. Percy had never been to the quarry before, apparently, and then he began ordering trucks about. Hurry along, he said. What the hell? This be Toby's place. Percy got no right to poke his front up here and push us around. They whispered and passed the word. Pay Percy out! Pay Percy out! Come along, but Percy, no bullshit! Oh, we'll give him bullshit. Give all the trucks. They had followed very quietly that Percy thought they were under control. Percy was minding his own business. There happens to be a sign just up ahead. All trains stop to pin down the brakes. Beep, beep, beep. Make with the brake making, please, guard. But before he could check him, the truck surged forward. Go on, they cried. Help, help, wailed Percy. The man on duty at the crossing rushed to warn traffic with his red flag. Was too late to switch Percy to the runaway siding. I'll save you! Never mind, not my problem. Frantically trying to grip the rails, Percy slid into the yard. Beep, beep! Look out! Ah! The brake van was obliterated. Percy's driver and fireman jumped clear. Percy was stranded. 24 hours later, the fat director arrived. Toby and Daisy helped clear the wreckage, and Percy was just sitting on the perch of trucks that he just crashed into. God damn it, Percy. We must now try to run the branch line with Toby and a diesel. You've put us in an awkward predicament. I'm sorry, sir, replied Percy. You can stay there till we're ready. Perhaps it'll teach you to be careful with trucks. Percy sighed. The trucks groaned beneath his wheels. He quite understood about awkward predicaments. The fat director had spoken severely to Daisy, too. As for you, Miss Makeup Locomotive, my engines work hard and I send lazy engines away. However, Toby says you worked hard after Percy's accident, so you shall have another chance. Do not waste it. Thank you, sir, said Daisy. I will work hard, sir. Toby says you'll help me. Excellent. What Toby doesn't know about branch problems isn't worth knowing. Our Toby is an experienced engine. Another 24 hours later, Thomas came back. And Percy was sent to be mended. Annie and Clarabelle were very delighted to see Thomas again after so long of his maintenance work. And so he took them for a run at once. All are now friends, and Toby has taught Daisy a great deal. She shooed a cow off the line all by herself the other day. That just goes to show you that she is, not being stupid, doesn't it? Well, doesn't it? It was a cold winter's morning on the island of Sodor. The wind was bitter and the ground hard with frost. Thomas and Percy were cold and cross. All I want is a warm boiler, huffed Thomas. Firelighter knows that, and he's late. He's not late. This cold weather woke us up early. The gusts of wind swirled flakes of snow towards Thomas, and then they swooshed round Percy, too. Why don't we talk about something else? Shivered Percy. Yes, like how silly we look when our funnels turn to icicles. That's not funny. Maybe we'll stop feeling cold if we talk about warm things like sunshine and steam. And firelighters, muttered Thomas. Scarves, continued Percy. Scarves? That's what you need, Percy. A woolly scarf around your funnel. Thomas was only teasing, but Percy thought happily about scarves until the firelighter came. The fat director was about to enjoy his McMuffin. He was looking forward to taking important visitors on the tour of the railway, and pressed his special trousers. I shall put them in my trunk and change into them just before the photographs are taken, he said to his wife. And then he set off to catch his train. Percy was now working hard. His fire was burning nicely, and he had plenty of steam, but he still thought about scarves, and he saw them everywhere he went. My funnel's cold, he puffed. I want a scarf, I want a scarf, I want a scarf, I want a scarf. Rubbish, Percy, said Henry. Engines do not wear scarves. Engines with proper funnels do, replied Percy. You've only got a small one. Before Henry could answer, Percy puffed away. Henry snorted. He was looking forward to pulling the special train. Soon came time for the photographs, and everyone was excited. The fat director was waiting on the platform anxiously for his trousers. They were in a trunk amongst a big load of baggage. The porters were taking the baggage trolley across the line. They were walking backwards to see if nothing fell off. Percy was still being an ass. His driver always shoved steam just outside the station, and Percy wanted to troll the coaches by coming in as quiet as he could. But the porters didn't even hear him either. There was an awful crash, and stuff burst everywhere. Oh! Groaned Percy. Ah! Oh! Oh! What is that? Sticky streams of jam trickled down Percy's face. There just so happens to be a top hat hanging on his lamp iron, and the worst of all, a pair of trousers coiled levelly around his funnel. Everyone was furious, and the fat director seized the top hat. Mine, he said. Percy, look at this. Yes, sir. I am, sir. My best trousers, too. Yes, sir. Please, sir. We must pay the passengers $1 million for their spoiled clothes and my trousers are ruined. I hope this will teach you not to play tricks with the rolling stock. Percy went off to the yard, and he felt very silly. On the way he met James. Hello, Percy. You found a scarf, huh? Legs don't... trousers, not funnels. And he puffed away to tell Henry the news. That evening, Thomas and Percy were resting in the shed. Percy's driver removed the trousers and given Percy a good rub-down. Firelighters promised to come early tomorrow, said Thomas. Henry arrived. He had enjoyed taking the visitors around, and now he felt sorry for Percy too. Driver says the weather will be warmer tomorrow, and you won't need a scarf after all, Percy. The hell no I don't. Engines don't need scarves. Engines need warm boilers. Everyone knows that. The island of Sodor had many visitors, and the fat director scheduled more trains. Gordon, the big engine, had to work harder than ever before. Come on, he called the coaches. Come on, come on, come on. The passengers rely on me to be on time. Whenever Gordon finished one journey, it was time for another to begin. Never mind, he puffed. I like a good long run to stretch my wheels. Even so, the fat director had decided that Gordon needed a rest. James shall do your work, he said kindly. James was delighted. He liked to show off his smart red paint and was determined to be as fast as Gordon. You know, little Toby, he boasted, I'm an important engine. Everyone knows it. I'm as regular as clockwork. Never late, always on time. Oh yeah? Toby. Just then, the fat director arrived. Your parts are worn, Toby. It's time for your checkup. You must go to works to be overhauled. Can I take Henrietta, sir? The fat director nodded. What would the passengers do without her? Toby saw Percy by the water tower. Oh, don't worry, Toby, said Percy. I'll take care of Henrietta until you get back. Soon Toby was out on the main line. He clanked as he trundled along. He's a little engine with small wheels. His tanks don't really hold a lot of water. He had come a long way and began to feel thirsty. In the distance was a signal. Oh, thank God, there's a station ahead. I can have a nice drink and a rest until James has passed. Toby's driver thought so too. Toby was sitting there enjoying his drink when the signalman come up. He had never seen Toby before, apparently, and Toby's driver tried to explain, but the new signalman wouldn't give a shit. We must clear the line for James with the express. You'll have to get more water at the next station. Toby clanked sadly away. Unfortunately, hurrying used a lot of water, and his tanks were soon empty, and not even 30 seconds later, Toby was out of steam and was stranded. We must warn James, said the fireman. And then he saw Percy and Henrietta. Please, stop. Take me back to the station, please. It's an emergency. Henrietta hated leaving Toby. Never mind, said Percy. You're taking the fireman to warn James. That's a big help. Henrietta felt much better. James was fuming when he heard the news. I'm going to be late. My fault. I don't understand about Toby. Now, James, said his driver, you'll have to push Toby. What? Me? Push Toby? And pull my train too? Grumbling dreadfully, James set off to find Toby. 30 seconds later, he found him. He came up behind Toby and gave him a bump. Get on, you ass! James had to work very hard pushing Toby to the workstation. Upon arrival, he felt very exhausted. To make matters worse, there were children on the platform just laughing at him. "Oh, the express is late and it's got 2 engines! I think James couldn't pull it on his own, so Toby had to help him!" "Never mind, James," whispered Toby. "They're only joking." "Ah!" said James. Toby just smiled. Duck, the Great Western engine, worked hard in the yard at the big station. Sometimes he pulled coaches, and other times he just pushed trucks. Regardless of the work, Duck got the job done without any problems at all. One fine day, Duck was resting in the shed when the Fat Director arrived. "Your work in the yard has been marvelous. Would you like to have a branch line for your own?" "Oh, yes, please, sir." And so, Duck took charge of his new branch line. This responsibility delighted him. The line runs along the coast by sandy beaches, till it meets a port where big ships come in. Duck explored every nook and cranny of the line. Sea breezes whirled his smoke high into the air, and his green paint glistened in the sunlight. "This is just like being on holiday," he puffed. "Well, you know what they say," laughed the driver. "A change is as good as a rest." Very soon enough, Duck was now busier than ever. This was because the Fat Director was building some new sheds at the station by the port, and Duck pulled the trucks and ballast to wherever the hell they needed to be. Birdie looked after Duck's passengers, and the other engines helped too. But the work took an extraordinary amount of time. The noise and dust filled the air. "Oh, don't worry," whistled Toby. "The sheds are nearly finished." "And on time, too," said Duck thankfully. Duck felt his responsibility deeply, and he talked endlessly about it. "You don't understand, Donald, how much the Fat Director relies on me." "Oh, hi," muttered Duck sleepily. "I'm Great Western, and I quack, quack, quack." "What? You heard? Quack, quack and go. Sounds like you're an egg laid. Now we should let an engine sleep." "Go quack yourself," said Duck indignantly. The next morning he spoke to his driver. "Donald says I quack, as if I laid an egg." "Quack, do you?" He whispered something to Duck and his driver. They were going to troll Donald and pay him back for teasing Duck. And so, the engines were busy for the rest of the day. And nothing more was said. Not even a quack. At all. But when at last Donald was asleep, Duck's driver and fireman popped something into his water tank. The next morning, when Donald stopped for water, he found he had an unexpected passenger aboard. A small white duckling popped out of his water tank. "Night just behind this," laughed Donald. The duckling was tame, thank God. She shared the fireman's sandwiches and rode in the tender. The other engines were fond of teasing Donald about this duck. Presently, she grew tired of traveling and hopped off at the beach station. And there she stayed. By nightfall, Donald's driver and fireman got busy. And when the next morning came, when Duck's crew arrived to look him over, they laughed and laughed. "Look, Duck, look what's under your bunker. It's a nest box with an egg in it." Donald opened a sleepy eye. Well, you must have laid in the night, Duck. Oh, unbeknownst." "You win, Donald. It'll take a clever engine to get the better of you." There just so happens to be a small pond near the duckling station. Here, she swims and welcomes the trains as they pass by. The station master calls her Dilly. To everyone else, she's always Donald's duck. Every afternoon, Thomas the Tank Engine puffs along his branch line with Annie and Clarabelle. First they pass the watermill. Next they come to a big farm. And then they can see a bridge with a village surrounding it. This is a special place. Whenever children hear Thomas coming along, they stand on the bridge. And they wave until he's out of sight. One peculiar day, Thomas was running late. He stopped at a signal just before the bridge to talk to some new children. Percy was waiting too. "Hurry up, Thomas," called Percy when the signal dropped. "If you're late, the fat director may get a new engine to replace you." He would never do that, thought Thomas, though he was showing concern internally. The next day, Thomas hurried along the line. Just up ahead was the same goods yard. And there on the platform was an inspector waving a red flag. And then on the bridge, Thomas saw some random children, and they were waving too. Something must be wrong, thought Thomas. This station is for goods, not passengers. "Help, Thomas! Help! We're glad to see you," called the children. "Please, will you take us home?" The station master explained to Thomas's driver that the school bus broke down and that all the parents would be worried if the children were late. So Thomas waited as the children walked down from the bridge. And then he took them to the next station, where Bertie was waiting to take them home. When Thomas finished his journey, however, he was very late. He was worried that the fat director might be cross with him after this whole ordeal. "I warned Thomas," put Percy and James. "He's been late once too many. He'll be in trouble now." But next morning, when Thomas picked up his passengers, the fat director was nowhere to be seen. "Thank God," sighed Thomas. Thomas has no knowledge about the branch line. Up ahead was this stretch where the hot sun had bent the rails on the track. "Careful, Thomas," called his driver, but it was too late. "That's done it," said the driver. "We shan't get any further today." "But what about my passengers?" asked Thomas. "Oh, don't worry. They'll be looked after," replied his driver. While workmen repaired the line, Thomas had to shunt trucks in the yard. Bertie came to see him. "I understand you need my help again." "Yes, Bertie," replied Thomas sadly. "I can't run without my rails." Bertie set off to collect Thomas's passengers. "Hello, Bertie," they said. "We're glad you're here." Bertie drove along the road that runs by the railway, and he stopped at each station along the line. Sometimes he stopped in between stations to let people off closer to their homes. Thomas felt miserable. "I've lost my passengers to Bertie. They'll like him better than me." A week later, the fat director arrived. "Your branch line has been repaired. Now I'm going to change your schedule so that you and Bertie can work together more often." When Thomas reached the station, there was a relief for all his passengers. "Bertie's a very good bus, but we sure as hell missed you," they said. Later, Thomas spoke to Bertie. "Thank you for looking after my passengers." "Oh, that's all right, Thomas. I like to make new friends, but I'm glad to share them with you." "Bertie," said Thomas, "you're a very good friend indeed, and always will be." Thomas and Percy are good friends, but sometimes Percy teases Thomas about being frightened, and he doesn't like that at all. One evening he was dozing happily in the shed, but Percy wanted to talk. "Wake up, Thomas! Are you dreaming about the time you thought I was a ghost?" "Certainly not. Anyway, I was only pretending to be scared. I knew it was you, really." Percy went on teasing him. "I hope the guard leaves the light on for you tonight." "Why?" asked Thomas. "I quite like the dark." Oh, really? I am surprised. I always thought you were afraid of the dark. Gee, I wonder why. Thomas decided to say nothing and went to sleep instead. Next day, the Fat Director arrived. I would like for you to go to the harbor tonight to collect something rather unusual. What sort of something? Oh, just wait and see. Percy was moving trucks into a siding at a random station. Henry arrived with his goods train, and the signalman switched to points, and Percy waited on the siding until Henry steamed by. And then the worst happened. The jams, called the signalman. I can't switch him back. The workmen will mend him in the morning. It's too late now. Percy's driver. I'm sorry, Percy. Looks like you're just gonna have to stay here for the night. What? Where are you going? Asked Percy. Oh, home for dinner, replied the fireman. Percy was speechless. He watched as the other engines went home to the sheds, possibly for dinner and other stuff. The nighttime came, and Percy began to feel very lonely. Oh dear, he murmured. It's very dark. What the hell was that? It was only an owl, but Percy didn't realize this. I wish Thomas was here too, he sighed. Thomas was waiting for his mysterious load at the harbor. Suddenly, there it was. Oh my God, cried Thomas. It's a dragon! Don't worry, laughed his driver. This dragon is made of paper. It's for the New Year's carnival tomorrow. Workmen lifted the dragon on Thomas's low loader and put lights around it for protection, and then Thomas set off into the misty night. Percy was sleeping in the siding, and he had no idea Thomas was approaching him. Percy was rudely awakened by Wish's steam, and he could see a large dragon. Oh my God! Help! Damn! I'm not gonna open my eyes till my driver comes out! Next morning, the points were mended, and Percy puffed back to Junction. Gordon was just about to leave with the express. God damn! You'll never guess what I saw last night! Gordon was in no mood for puzzles. I'm a busy engine. I don't have time for your shenanigans. No, seriously, I seen a huge dragon. It was covered in lights. Gordon snorted. You've been in the sun too long. Your dome has cracked. The hell, man? When the other engines heard the news, they laughed too. Look out, Percy, chuckled James, or the dragon may gobble you up. Damn, no one believes me. Maybe I did imagine a dragon after all. But Percy soon found out he had not been dreaming at all. God damn it! Save me! Help! Ah! Oh, it's all right. And then he explained about the carnival. By the way, how was your night out? Percy decided to tell Thomas the truth. Well, Percy, maybe we do get scared sometimes. But if we're not afraid to tell each other, then that means we're quite brave too. Thomas and Percy enjoy working at the docks. They like the sea air and the sound of the gulls. But one day, the friends were feeling hot and bothered. A crane was causing trouble. His name is Cranky, and this was his first day at the docks. You're useless little bugs, he called from above. If you put these trucks on the inside lines, then I wouldn't have so far to travel. Rubbish! We always arrange our trucks like this, and no crane has ever complained before. Well, I'm complaining now! And Cranky banged his load down on the quayside. Later, the two engines met Gordon and James and told them about Cranky. Cranes are hairy-fairy things. They need a lot of attention. Like me, in fact, said Gordon. You should see the situation from Cranky's point of view, huffed James. He's high up in the air, coping with wind, rain, and baking sun. Then he looks down and sees you two little engines being annoying. No wonder he calls you bugs. When Cranky heard the big engines agree with him, he grew bossier still. Come on! Push those trucks closer to me! But Percy was too upset to concentrate, and pushed the trucks too far. And then Cranky played a trick on Thomas. Hey, push your trucks onto the outside line. It's easier for me to load up. And so Thomas did. But Cranky dropped the load beside the trucks and not in them. You must have known my arm can't reach you there, complained Cranky. This mix-up caused confusion and delay, and the fat director was the most upset about this whole ordeal. Thomas and Percy, this new crane has important jobs to do. I've heard you've not been helping him today. You'll go to your sheds and consider how you'll improve yourselves tomorrow. Now Thomas and Percy were upset too. That evening, a big storm raged across the island of Sodor. Cranky and the big engines were trapped at the docks. Well, we're sure to be safe in this shed, said Duck. But he was dead-ass wrong. The engines had no idea they were about to be put in great danger. By all means, an old tramp steamer. I got it! Oh no! Pull my grip! Pull my grip! Help! Cried the engine inside the shed. I can't! Cried Cranky pathetically. When the storm was over, the fat director rushed to the scene of destruction. Thomas and Percy and Harry will help you, he called to Cranky. And then you help the engines. Oh, please hurry, cried Cranky, and tell them I'm sorry I was rude to them. So it was you, huh? I owe those engines an apology. Thomas, Percy, and Harold soon came to the rescue. And it wasn't too long before Cranky was upright again and clearing the wreckage. And at long last, the engines were free. Oh, thank you, said Gordon. What would I have done without you? Well, I had to be rescued before I could rescue you, but I never thought it would be by a couple of Cranky was about to say bugs, but he corrected himself. Small engines, thank you. I'll never be rude again. However, you two mites are in my way, so move over. Pah! He's back to bugging us! Wait, don't move! You're still attached to Cranky! I don't give a shit! Cranky still looks down at two little engines, but ever since that stormy night, he never calls them bugs nor mites because he knows he might get his ass whooped. It was a busy time at the docks. All the engines were working hard, pushing and pulling trucks about. One fine morning, Percy was late. Cranky the crane was quick to criticize. These ships can't be kept waiting. They have important cargo. If they miss the tides, they'll be delayed in the docks. You should look up their ships and show more respect. You are, after all, only little. We've got too much work, huffed Percy. Then perhaps a lorry should do your job. Percy was shocked. He told his horrible deal to the other engines what Cranky said. Stuff and nonsense, snorted James. We engines run this island, said Henry. But what if a lorry does arrive? And I'm afraid it did, along with two more. Cranky was delighted. Hey, you down there, your job's done now. These lorries are taking over. One of them wants to talk to you. The lawyer was very rude. What's that steaming lump of scrap iron doing here? Be off, would you? You stupid bum. Scrap iron? Steaming scrap iron? Bah! A little later, Percy met up with Thomas and James. Another lorry was being rude to them, and then he saw Percy. Oh, look, it's a little green goblin on wheels. You'll be scrapped. Just you wait and see, boy. Well, bust my boiler. "What a horrid lorry!" exclaimed Thomas. "Despicable!" agreed James. Toby was the next individual to see a lorry in the first place. "Well, well, well. No wonder this railway is in a mess. You belong in a museum, not working in a quarry. I might look old, but I'm very useful." "Useful? Pah!" replied the lorry. "Just you tootle off." "Tootle?" spluttered Toby. "Come along, Toby," interrupted the driver. "Don't bother with him. We'll go to the flour mill instead." But when they arrived at the flour mill, Toby was shocked to see yet another lorry. "What are you doing here?" "Oh, wait till you're doing your work now. You're too slow." The foreman spoke to Toby's driver. "I'm sorry. Times are changing, I'm afraid." "Toby might be old," replied his driver, "but he's reliable. Come on, Toby. We'll go to the farms. Maybe they'll still use us." Toby trundled sadly away. His tramway ran through a narrow gorge, but vehicles had to take a steep and dangerous road. When Toby arrived, he saw the lorry from the quarry again, and it was loaded with rocks. "Oh, that lorry is in trouble," thought Toby. And he was. The lorry dangled precariously off the cliff and fell onto the rocks below. The good news is that the driver was thrown clear. "Oh, chicken parmesan!" Oh. The wrecked lorry was taken to the docks, and Percy looked at the lorry. "What's this screaming scrap iron?" he teased. "I'll be back," replied the lorry, "so you can wipe that stupid smile off your smoke box." Then Bush, the breakdown vehicle, arrived. He was towing the lorry from the flour mill. "Huh. What happened?" asked Toby's driver. "He was overloaded with flour," came the reply, "and he broke down." "Not very useful, are you?" said Toby. Then James whistled excitedly. "They're bringing in the old lorry on the barge." "What happened to that one?" James asked. "Stupid lorry was reversing and fell straight into the goddamn sea," said the tow truck man. Later, Thomas arrived, and he looked at the three lorries and laughed. "Well, well, well! The brothers Grimm! Smashed, broken, and sunk!" The lorries didn't return, so I would assume they died. The engines are now at peace. But are they? Check on that one. Gordon was feeling grumpy. This was making James cross. "Why are you complaining all the time?" "Because I'm a big blue engine and I know everything. I shall complain whatever I want. You're just a small red engine with ideas above your station." "I can't see any," said Percy. "Where are they?" "Any what?" "Ideas above the station. The sky is empty." "Like your smoke box, Percy. Shut up." But Gordon was still grumpy. "One day I'll show you just what a big engine can really do." "So what can a big engine really do?" "Not speak to stupid engines for a start," replied Gordon, and he puffed away. Later that day, the fat director came to see him. "Gordon, you'll be making one stop today with an empty express to test our new station. You can make up time afterwards." "What? Why can't Henry do it? He likes idling in stations." "You will do as you are told," came the blunt reply. And so Gordon did. However, he was still unhappy and he grew sick too. "I just can't get up to speed," he moaned. "It's time for your visit to the works. Your pipes are clogged," said the fireman. At last they approached the new station. Gordon was impressed, but his mood soon changed. In front of him was a blank wall with huge buffers. "What a boring view," he grunted. "Important engines like me should have a panoramic view where I can see people and people can see me." And he wheezed angrily. Gordon was happy when it was time to leave. "Now you can really enjoy your run as long as your pipes will let you," said his driver. Come on, come on, come on. I can go faster than this," huffed Gordon. "Sick me never!" But Gordon began to feel more and more feeble. And just like that, he was slowing down and came to a complete stop. "What happened?" he exclaimed. His driver and fireman inspected him. "Something's broken inside you, Gordon," said his fireman. "Now you really will have to go to the works." Gordon was still fuming when James arrived to collect his coaches. Well, so much for knowing about everything. Hey, you got too puffed up in your boiler, so it serves you right." When Gordon returned from the works a few days later, he was still boasting. "I am the finest engine on the island of Sodor, probably the finest in the world. Come on, Gordon, we're going to the official opening of the new station." And then there was trouble. As Gordon approached the new station, neither the driver nor fireman could apply his brakes. Something had jammed. Even though the driver reduced steam, Gordon was still going too fast. The station joke was inevitable. "Help me, please." Well, Gordon," said the fat director. "I knew you wanted a panoramic view, but this is not the way to achieve it." "Yes, sir." "Sorry, sir," muttered Gordon. When Gordon was repaired, again, he took the fat director to the new station for its second official opening. This time, he arrived safely, and everyone clapped and cheered as he pulled in to the platform. The fat director spoke to him. "Your panoramic view is here to stay. I trust you'll always see through it from the safety of your own rails." Gordon heartily agreed. Thomas, the tank engine, had been working in the coal mine all day. The little blue engine was covered in coal dust. "We can't clean you up tonight, Thomas," said his driver. "There's a problem with the hose pipe." "Bother," said Thomas. "A bath would make me feel better. The others are sure to say I look stupid." But the edges were too busy arguing to notice Thomas, and James was talking the loudest of all. "Oh, I deserve a new coat of paint. The fat director says I'm the pride of the line, and..." "Bullshit," huffed Henry. "We're all part of the line." "It's been like this all day," defied Percy Thomas. "James is getting a new coat of paint and won't stop boasting about it." "Why, James, I'm the one who needs a new coat. Look at me." "I'd rather not," retorted James. "You're not a pleasant sight, and wouldn't understand the needs of a really important engine." Thomas was furious. The next morning, as James was being repainted, Henry did something extremely stupid. "If you can't push trucks properly, Henry, why not talk to a tree instead? You know how much you like the forest." "As a matter of fact, Bossy Boiler, the fat director is inspecting the island for trees that are too close to the line. He's worried they might cause trouble." "If I came upon a tree, I'd just push it aside." "Really?" replied Henry. Soon, James was showing off his paintwork. "Make way for an important engine." "You wouldn't feel important if one of these trees crashed on you. You feel hurt," reproached Percy. "Rubbish. It wouldn't dare." "You should be careful, James. Trees can just be powerful as weapons." "Oh, please." "Now, excuse me, the fat director needs me to pull the express." But James was dead-ass wrong. As he pulled into the station, the fat director was waiting. "You must go to the yard to collect important goods train, James. It's heavy, so be careful," said the fat director. "But, sir, I've just been repainted. Can't Thomas or Percy do it? They're dirty and like working with trucks." "Really useful engines do not argue with their boss." And so James did not. By the time he arrived at the yards, the weather changed for the worse. "Hey, your collar's nice, James. Pity about your face, though," said a truck. James ignored him and set off. Soon they came to a hill, and his driver knew they were in for a hard time. An old tree close to the track was being blown by the strong winds, and the rain weakened the slope. All of a sudden, the tree moved, and James saw the tree in the track, and his driver braked hard. "Oh God! Oh 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 help!" cried James. "Go away! Go away!" But the tree couldn't, and so James tried to reverse away from the tree. But his train was far too heavy. And then he heard a whistle. "It's Thomas!" called his driver. James felt embarrassed and worried that Thomas would laugh at him, but he decided not to, and he was not in the mood for teasing. "I'm ready." "So am I. Ready you'll ever be." "Good. Let's do this." They were just in time as the tree fell from only a few feet away from the reversing engines. Later, James spoke to Thomas. "Percy had terrors her right to warn me," he said. "Thank you for rescuing me, Thomas." "Oh, that's all right. We engines must pull together whatever the weather." Just then, Edward bustled in. "The fat director thinks you're both brave engines. Thomas, you're going to have a new coat of paint. And James, the fat director says that tomorrow you'll pull the Special Express." And there was much rejoicing. Early one morning, Gordon's fire would not light. "I don't know what's wrong," sighed the firelighter. "There must be gremlins about." "What are gremlins?" asked Percy. "I've heard they're little green men who play tricks," replied Thomas. "Can we find one?" asked Percy. "Pah!" said James. "Gremlins don't exist. They're just an excuse when things go wrong and no one knows why." "If Firelighter says there are gremlins, there are," insisted Thomas. "Ha!" snorted James, and the fat director heard everything. "Silence!" he said. "I'm expecting a very important person today. She has heard that all my engines are really useful. Please prove it to us." "Yes, sir," they all said. "As long as the gremlins let us," added Percy. "What gremlins?" "The ones in Gordon's fire, sir. That's why he's not ready yet." "We'll see about that," thundered the fat director. And he did. "Gordon, I expect you to be on your best behavior today. You are to pull the very special coach for my special visitor, but no high speech, please. She won't like that. At all." Gordon was proud and pleased. He was waiting for his special coach when Percy puffed in with some coal trucks. "What's the matter, Gordon? You're late." "Driver says there's gremlins in the turntable." "They must be everywhere," squeaked Percy. At last the turntable was mended, and Gordon puffed away with his special coach. He was soon working hard to make up for lost time. Upon his arrival at the new station, the fat director was showing concern. Where's Thomas?" he wondered. "He's supposed to be bringing my visitor from the docks." "Huh," Gordon. "Thomas isn't really useful if he's late." But it wasn't long before Thomas arrived. "Sorry, sir. A cow strayed onto the line, and we had to wait for the farmer to take her away. But driver says your visitor's here safe and sound." "Indeed she is," smiled the fat director. "How nice to see you." Who is it?" whispered Percy. "Oh, I don't know," replied Thomas, "but the fat director is certainly keen to pleasure her. He's arranged a special party for her." "She's got a dog," said Percy. "Oh, woof woof." "Come on, Thomas," said his driver. "You need a drink." "Pah!" "Thomas is just a lazy little engine. The fat director is expecting me to arrive on time. We're late because of Thomas and nothing more." Gordon's driver decided to make up for lost time. And then there was trouble. "I think we better slow down. This is an old line and could make things uncomfortable for the very important passenger." And it did. She was taking a bath from hot water and slopping out all over the place. Gordon was very relieved when he reached his final destination. Upon his arrival, there was Thomas, just waiting to collect the fat director and a special visitor. And so, he blew an extra long whistle, and this frightened the visitor's dog so much he fled from the station and ran to a field where a bull was grazing. Hey, you! Woof, woof. Gremlin jumped into the cab, and he had a wonderful ride all the way to the terminus. What's the dog's name? Asked the fireman. Well, after today's events, I'll rename him Gremlin. The fat director chuckled. In that case, I met what at last. Ha ha ha! Excuse me, sir, but who is your very important visitor? Why, did I tell you? This lady is my ma. She agrees with me. You are indeed really useful engines. And my mother, of course, is always right. Ha 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 ha! One fine day, George the Steamroller was waiting for Percy to take him to a new workplace. George was being rude to Renius and Scarlowy. You're just worn-out wheels on worn-out rails. You need rocks for your roads, replied Scarlowy, and we're helping you. I need to find little engines in the scrapyards, toward George. And then Percy arrived to take George away, and he was still rebelling. Railways are no good. Turn them into roads. The little engines was pleased to see him go. Rollers are rubbish, so good riddance, they yelled. George grumbled all the way to the old narrow gauge line. He was going to transform it into a road. Upon arrival, George was rude again. Bumpy ride on rotten rails. I'm glad it's over. So am I, said Percy. Huh, huffed George. Percy was still fuming when he met Thomas. Hey, what's up, Percy? It's George. He makes me feel down. Just ignore him, bluffed Thomas. George was now enjoying himself. Ripping up rails, ha ha ha, what a life! Oh, what do you think of this, Thomas? Thomas took no notice, and George felt insulted. You're a useless blue puffball, he shouted. But Thomas didn't hear at all. I'm gonna show him who's boss, all right. At last the workmen reached the level crossing. What shall we do here? Tear it up! Tarmac it! Said George. But they did. And they certainly didn't do a good job about that, and George knew it too. Later, Thomas was traveling home on the same line, and he was pulling trucks full of iron girders. The signalman was sleeping on the job and didn't warn anyone about the crossing. Huh, that's nice. We don't need to stop, said Thomas happily. Oh, hell yes we do, called the driver. But it was too late. What the hell? Next day, Percy told Gord all about George. Huh! You're just a small engine. That's why he's rude to you. He wouldn't dare cause me any trouble. George had taken some yards to work. As he was chuffering about, Duck arrived with a train of empty trucks. George was unfortunately blocking his way, and a truck was stuck on the main line. Let me through, demanded Duck. I'm too busy. You just have to wait. But there's no time to wait. I must clear my trucks from the main line to let Gordon through. Pah! Then you'll have to wait too. Duck's driver went to complain to the station master, but the signalman already switched the points and set the signals to allow Gordon to speed through. His passengers were singing his praises, and he was making express time. I am the greatest! Just watch me fly by! He whistled long and loud as he approached the station. Suddenly he saw a truck on the line ahead. Get out of my way! But the truck wouldn't move until Gordon forced it. By accident. Gorn was worried the fat director would be cross. Well, he most certainly was, but not with Gordon. Whoever caused this disturbance shall have me to answer to. And he did, about 5 to 7 days later. Look who's here, said Thomas. George had been found out by the fat director and been punished. He looked miserable. Now we'll get some peace at last, said Percy. I want to get rolling again, but I've got to wait a whole week until I do. And then you'll be just as rude as ever, eh, George? I sure as hell hope not. Do you? Percy puffed grumpily into the yards. He was feeling put upon, and said so. I feel put upon, he complained to Thomas. Put upon what? The rails? No! Put upon too much work. Driver says he is too. Put upon. What a silly saying, replied Thomas. But Annie and Clarabelle liked it, and when Thomas took him away, they sang about it. Percy being put upon. I am. He collected metal from the ironworks, and then coal from the mine, flour from the flour mill, rocks from the quarry, and fuel from the diesel works. And then he delivered it all to the docks. Next, he collected some empty trucks. Who this dirty little engine? We want Thomas or Duck. Put upon, that's what I am. I am put upon. That night, all the engines laughed on him. We can see what's been put upon you indeed, said Thomas. Silence! Percy, you've done a good day's work. Now get a good night's rest, said the fat director. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The next morning, he took some trucks to the coal mines. Then he had to push empty trucks to the mine shaft, and then when he arrived, there was trouble. The foreman spoke to his driver. The trucks are stuck on the mechanism. All they need is a good shove. We'll do it right away. Percy shunted back towards a large canvas barrier which was used to protect the line from loose rocks, and then Percy charged the line of trucks too fast and too hard. Oh no! gasped Percy. The trucks broke free and ran out of control in the mines below. On! Let's go! Faster! The silly trucks yelled. More trouble ensued, and one of the trucks derailed and hit a support beam. The coal started to tumble down. The trucks inside died, and Percy and his driver felt a rumble, and then came the alarm. Get out of here fast! The mine is collapsing! We'll just have to make a run for it, Percy called his driver. Oh, you're darn right! There's gonna be an avalanche! Wailed Percy. And he was dead-ass right. Rocks were pelting down the cliffside. And worse still, the track he was on began to crumble and, break down. And then he remembered something he'd seen earlier. There's a canvas buried by the track. That might save us. And by strike of luck, they were just in time. Percy was right. The canvas had saved them. But the miners weren't aware about this, though. The avalanche buried an engine and its crew. We must help them right now. When Percy had been rescued, the fat director spoke to his driver and fireman and then to Percy. Well, driver told me how brave you were, Percy, and I'm very proud of you. As a reward, you will be repainted and possibly mended out of the works. Oh, thank you, sir. When he returned, Percy's green cloak glistened in the sun. Sorry we teased you, Percy, said Thomas. You were certainly put upon by that avalanche. Yes, indeed, but just look at my new coat of paint, and now I don't mind that being put upon me. Thomas the Tank Engine enjoys working on the island of Sodor. He would not want to be anywhere else whatsoever. One fine day, when he stopped at a station, some children looked sad. They closed our playground and our favorite sand pit. The teacher said the sand is soil too dirty to play in. Please help us, Thomas, they pleaded. I'll see what I can do, replied Thomas kindly. Thomas genuinely hoped things weren't quite as bad as the children made him out to be. However, when he passed their playground, there happens to be a large sign that read, "Playground closed until further notice." Damn, the children were right, thought Thomas sadly. He puffed into the sheds and was just about to tell the other engines about the playground when Percy rushed in. Guys! Holy shit, you guys! Holy shit, you guys! What's going on, Percy? You look glum. Fat Director told driver he's using Harold to show a special visitor on the island instead of using any of us engines. What? Said Gordon. That's bullshit, snorted Henry. Engines are meant to take special visitors on our island, not that whirly-bird thing, James exclaimed. Gordon was first to see Harold. Huh, Harold thinks he could go faster than me, huh? I'll show him. Henry got to see him next. The fat director chosen Harold because he thinks he's more important than me. Well, he's not. Harold cannot fly through tunnels. Percy stopped by a signal on Thomas's branch, near a field where sheep were grazing. Harold was just hovering there for a little bit, and then he just buzzed off. Oh, I know what he's doing. He's counting sheep. And Percy puffed along the line, feeling much better about things. That evening, the engines talk about this whole ordeal. Harold wants to get rid of us, said Gordon grimly. He doesn't need tunnels, added Henry. Oh, don't worry. He's just counting sheep, said Percy. Counting sheep. Are you on drugs, Percy? He's counting how many engines he can get rid of. He'll see just how useful I am tomorrow. Thomas wanted to mention the children's playground, but solving the mystery of Harold and the special visitor came first. The next day, Gordon was traveling to collect his train. Well, we'll show that whirlybird just how fast you can go, Gordon, said his driver. Because they were watching Harold, they missed a signal and went onto the wrong line. Gordon was traveling to trouble. Ahead was a tunnel we don't know where it leads to. The driver reduced steam and braked hard, but it was too late. Later, Thomas fished Gordon out with the breakdown train. The fat director spoke severely to Gordon's driver about the accident. Will Gordon be scrapped, sir? Asked Thomas sadly. What makes you think that? Said the fat director. Thomas decided to pluck up courage. Because the engines think the special visitors here see we could be replaced by Harold, he said. The fat director laughed. You're wrong. You shouldn't be listening to rumors, Thomas. This guy is making a new playground for children. It was easier to find a suitable site from up in the air. And what's more, said the special visitor, that tunnel sand you got over there will be perfect for the playground. Found by accident and rumor, you might say. The fat director still uses Harold to fly above the island. The engines now know that Harold is not spying on them at all. As a matter of fact, he is in his own way, just being very useful. Oliver and his brake van Toad liked working in the big yards. One morning, Toad noticed that Oliver was unhappy. He decided to find out why. Excuse me, Mr. Oliver. It seems to me that things are not well with you, if you'll forgive me for mentioning it. You're quite right, Toad, replied Oliver. All I do is shut these trucks onto the turntable. I long for a nice run. It's what an engine really needs. Quite so, Mr. Oliver. May I suggest you speak to the Fat Director about your problems? But Oliver said nothing. He just grew unhappier. And he was rough with the trucks. Not very characteristic of him. Oh, god damn! You're no good, Oliver! You're dangerous! We want Percy! Percy is far too busy to be bothered with the likes of you. And Oliver bumped the trucks hard. What the hell, man? It'll take a long time to repair this turntable. This is definitely going to cause confusion and delay. That night, the Fat Director came to see Oliver in his shed. He was cross. Oliver, you have caused confusion. I thought you could control trucks. You shall work the mail train for a while. Maybe the night air will clear your smoke box. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, said Oliver sadly. Cheer up, old chap. The mail train run is a grand run for a fine engine like you. Oliver smiled, but he still felt he had let everyone down. His driver took them along the coastal run with the mail train. The fresh air couldn't really help but brighten Oliver's spirits. They made tremendous speed until it was time to collect some important mail from Harold the helicopter. They waited and waited until at last Harold landed. Oh, sorry I'm late, Great Western. Had a bit of problems with my arms. Kept letting me down when it was meant to be up. You know what I mean? Said Harold. Well, we know we'll be late for our first run, replied Oliver's driver. And soon they were on their way again. Just up ahead was a red signal light. Oliver didn't realize that the signalman was sleeping on the job. Stupid idiot! Oliver whistled several times, but the signal stayed red. Must be something wrong with that signal. We'll go slowly and stop by the signal box, said his driver. But they never reached it. The points just before the signal box were switched onto an old track. They were not going in the right direction at all, whatsoever. Oliver's fireman was concerned. We need to find a water tower soon. But instead they saw an old station that looked familiar. And disaster lay ahead. The Fat Director was showing concern. Oliver's now returned. We'll send out a search party. Very soon, he was high in the sky with Harold. Where is he? Where is he? There they are! Okay, just for the record, sir, this was not Oliver's fault at all. Oh, I'm aware of that. I'm just glad to see you're all safe. And then he saw something very peculiar. There was an empty house beside the station, and he went to look at it. Oh my god. Holy shit, that looks so beautiful. This brings a tear to my eye. Oliver, you found another attraction for our island. We'll make this house as good as new, and visitors will have their fancy dinners and parties there and stuff. Getting lost can be interesting, but being found is much nicer, especially when it makes an engine feel really useful. It was winter on the island of Sodor. The snow-covered fields and railway lines. All the engines were hard at work, except for Percy. Come on, Percy. This isn't time for our rest. I'm stuck, moaned Percy, and my funnel's freezing up. Driver sent for help. That sounds like a skill issue, huffed Thomas, and went on his way. Later, Thomas had to help clear snow at the tunnel, but it was too deep, and he got stuck. Thomas was furious. Snow is nothing but trouble, he moaned. Rusty was close by. Driver says that this winter is just about as bad as the worst winter of all. How worst? Asked Thomas. I'll tell you, replied Rusty, and this is the story he told. Skarloey was working the line to the slate quarry near the top station, and then when the snow came, it was difficult to work. They used the snow as a double buffer zone to help stop trucks getting through the ravine. One day, Skarloey set off to the quarry with some empty trucks. Meanwhile, there was trouble at the quarry. The winch from the incline that hauls the trucks up and down wasn't working properly. And so, the engines had to take the long way to the upper terrace to have their trucks filled. Skarloey reached the ravine leading the quarry, and high above him was the upper terrace. That snow looks dangerous. Sound your engine and trucks and call an avalanche. I'm gonna set off an emergency cap, just to see what happens. Skarloey watched as his driver prepared it. And then they decided to run over the cap. The bang echoed around the gorge. And nothing happened. Good! All's well. We'll have a cup of cocoa and then make our way. But high above them, all was not well. One of the engines had pulled a long line of full trucks up a steep incline, and they almost reached the top when some empty trucks became derailed. Break it! Snap it! Shouted the trucks. And it did. On! Faster! They giggled. The snowbank and buffers will stop them, said a workman. But he was dead-ass wrong. The trucks plunged into the ravine. Skarloey and his driver saw the falling trucks and looked up. Holy shit, an avalanche! They cried. And when the snow plume cleared, there was no sign of Skarloey, and he was buried deep inside the high drift blocking the ravine. And then came the funny part. What's funny about an avalanche? Asked Thomas. Well, not among us, but no one knew if the heat from Skarloey's boiler had helped to make an igloo. Look, in the snow. It's a snowball. No, you stupid. It's a house. It's an engine. They cleared away the ice, only to find Skarloey's driver and fireman drinking cocoa, as if nothing happened at all. Luckily for them, it just goes to show, you can't trust trucks. Or snow, said Rusty. The men had just cleared the snow away from him, and when Gordon puffed by with his machine. Hey, look out! There's snow about left, Gordon! He stopped by the tunnel and wheezed loudly. And then it happened. Oh shit. A big pile of snow from the roof of the tunnel fell over Gordon. Cried Gordon. If Skarloey survived a snowfall and laughed, surely a big proud engine like you could use save, chuckled Thomas. Go screw off! Moaned Gordon, and he felt as silent as the snow.